Now we go. Nothing jumps out to me at the NFC North. Lions 10.5, Packers 9.5, Bears 8.5, Vikings 8.5. Nothing jumps out to me. Everybody wants to bet the Bears in the over. Be careful.
All right. That's what I want to highlight. Everybody wants to bet the Bears, but be careful. Interesting. So the Bears are 8.5, which I find absolutely fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. They won 5 games. They were 5-12, as all Bears fans will very much be aware of. And what I'm really struggling to grasp, and I've been really consistent with a lot of these teams in terms of these types of takes with teams that have made concrete moves where it's just like, we're saying that upgrading the O-line, having Ben Johnson, so upgraded head coach, which will then by virtue upgrade your quarterback, not even counting the fact that Caleb will just be better this season because he's now going to be more experienced, but just the sheer fact that he's now just going to be on a better team with a better coaching staff, so he will play better or will at least be in situations where his life and job are a little bit easier, so he should, again, by definition, be more successful. To think that that's not going to be more than just, a couple games, essentially, I struggle with that. I struggle with that, especially when we see how the Packers played this past season and how inconsistent they were. I mean, it is interesting because then we have the Lions. The Lions now drop back. They won 15 games, and it's being predicted that they're going to win 10.5. That's a fall. That's a fall. I mean, that is a steep fall. And we have the Packers, who are 11. They're sliding too, and the Vikings are sliding. And we know why the Vikings are sliding, obviously, because starting a rookie quarterback, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you really only have the Bears kind of come up. So it's just interesting to me that you have the Lions fall, the Packers fall, the Vikings fall a lot, like many games. And yet the Bears just kind of creep up, 2-3 games, which again, you can make the argument in the NFL, creeping up 2-3 games is also kind of, potentially big. But when you're replacing your coach and you lose games fundamentally because of poor coaching decisions, poor game plan, bad O-line, and then you replace all of this, I just think the jump has to be steeper, especially when you're putting it in context of you believe that these other teams in the same division are going to go backwards. Like, it's one thing if you were still predicting the Lions and the Packers and the Vikings to be great. Then I could understand, because then you're going to be like, well, where are these wins coming from? But if you're predicting that the Lions are going to take a step back, the Packers are going to take a step back, the Vikings are going to take a step back, well, then to me, it's kind of like double dipping. Then the Bears should kind of have some of this synergy. It's like jumping on a trampoline and having someone like double bounce you. Well, then it should be like extra, because if the Lions and the Packers and the Vikings were still great, and again, this is all according to Vegas, by the way. If they were all still great top teams, top playoff teams and all that fun stuff, then I could understand, yeah, only a couple games will the Bears be able to find wins in. You're like, okay, I could understand that. But if you're saying in your own division that these teams are also going backwards, then I don't understand how it's not even more. I don't understand how the Bears aren't at least at 9 or 10. And now Colin's saying, oh, be careful. I don't know. I am struggling so hard to not be overflowing with optimism, which I talked about this, in one of my more recent Chicago Bears videos, that I had to work a lot harder to find the optimism last offseason going into this season for the Bears, for why I think that they could be a really great team. And I convinced myself and all of that. But it's just like, I don't have to struggle for the optimism for the Bears. Like I'm my glass is not half full. Like, it is completely just overflowing. Again, I'm not going to try to act like I think the Bears are just going to skyrocket and they're going to win 13, 14 games. But I just feel as though that they have the true potential to essentially do exactly what the Washington Commanders did last season. And the difference thing, the reason why I think people are slightly more hung up on is because I feel as though if we didn't see Caleb Williams play last season, and let's say Caleb Williams was being drafted this time around, and he was the number 1 overall pick, and you had Ben Johnson and all that fun stuff, that the Bears would probably be even higher regarded right now. Because you would see, their O-line has been upgraded. They have a better coach now. And now they're drafting this rookie quarterback, hot shot quarterback, et cetera, et cetera. But because of what we saw, everything unfold last season, I feel like that's kind of being weighed down a little bit. But if we say that Caleb Williams had issues because of a poor O-line and poor coaching, and therefore you got less than ideal play from Caleb Williams, you fix that O-line, you fix that coaching, then you're going to get better quarterback play. I just feel like then that's where the predictions should lie then. Again, unless you're still struggling to grasp with the quality of player that Caleb Williams is. I think at a minimum, Caleb Williams is at least a starting quarterback in the NFL. I think at a minimum, he is at least, top 25 quarterback, okay? And which is like, again, hardly a strong, firm, flag to plant. Like, I think it's a pretty easy, lukewarm take to make, to be like, yes, I do think that Caleb will be able to be a starting quarterback in the NFL for the next 5, 6, 7 years. And if that's the case, and you build a team that's good enough around him, and you have a great coach like Ben Johnson, and you have a defense that's competent and can be top 15, top 10 in the NFL, we know historically you're going to win some games. You're going to win 9, 10, 11, 12, again, depending on how good your division is and your strength of schedule, like, you're going to win some games. You're going to win some games. We've seen quarterbacks and teams with worse coaching, worse teams, still come away and win 9, 10, 11 games, find themselves in the playoffs, etc., etc. We've seen that just last year alone. The Falcons were able to win 8, 9 games. Okay? The Cardinals were able to win 8, 9 games. The Seahawks, 10 games. I'm saying it weird because I said 8, 9 games. Like, they won 8 and 9. Let's jump to the AFC. The Dolphins were able to win 8 games. The Steelers 10. The Bengals with the worst defense ever. And don't get me wrong, they obviously had Joe Burrow and a high-powered offense, 9 games. The Colts with AR, okay, and sometimes Flacco. They were able to win 8 games. So it's just, I'm just struggling to see them essentially be like the Colts or the Cardinals. I'm just struggling to see that, or the Falcons with Kirk Cousins. I struggle to see that. I really do. Again, unless you have questions about Ben Johnson and questions about Caleb Williams, I get it. I understand it, but I don't know. We're saying that the Bears are going to be as good as the Atlanta Falcons when Kirk Cousins started throwing like 10 interceptions a game, and like couldn't throw the ball more than 10 yards. Like that's what we're saying, that's who the Bears are going to be this season, with what should be a favorable schedule, which should be, again, according to Vegas, a significant backward slide from the Lions, the Packers, and the Vikings. I mean, you're talking about a collection of like, what is that? It's going to be like, the Vikings won 14 games, right? 14 games. So you're talking about losing 5 and then losing, what does that say? I mean, like, you're talking about like over 10 games. Well over 10 games less wins from this division combined between the Lions, the Packers, and the Vikings. That's massive. That is massive. That's a lot of extra wins in the air. And none of them are going to fall to the Bears? And if you're saying, well, some of them are going to fall to the Bears, and that means they're just going to get beat up and dominated by the teams out of the division, I don't know, man. I just I'm struggling to grasp the logic for how you get to 8.5 when we put it in the context of how we understand the NFL to work. It must mean that Vegas clearly believes there are major question marks around Caleb Williams. But then again, I just revert back to my earlier take of like, but we know the coaching staff was bad. We know the O-line was bad. Therefore, we know someone like Caleb Williams' level of play is not going to be as good. If we fix those things, at a minimum, we have to imagine that his play will improve. Even if we don't think that he's going to be as amazing as originally predicted, we still have to imagine that if he was a C last year, based off of those circumstances, if you improve the environment, we're saying that he can't become at least a C+, at least a B-. I don't understand. If we want to say that he was a D last year under those circumstances, we think that in upgrading the O-line and upgrading the head coach significantly doesn't at least make you a C-. That's never how the NFL has worked. We know that. We know that. We know that without a shadow of a doubt. So I'm just failing to grasp it. So, and even Colin's like, be careful. I don't know. It must be because of the true fear and lack of belief behind Caleb. And I don't want to keep going in circles about it, but when you're in an unideal circumstance, like, those are the results you're going to get. And when people try to push back on that and say, yeah, well, he's still a bum, like, I'm running out of ways how to process it and how to relay why that logic is so flawed, which is why I'm trying to use this most like lukewarm of like, even if you want to say that Caleb Williams was the 32nd best or, essentially the worst quarterback in the NFL, we're saying that if you improve the team that he can't also now just be better. It doesn't actually logically make any sense. It does not make any logical sense. So I can't, and again, any of the comebacks that people want to say, oh, Jaden Daniels would have been good, or this or that would have been, or everyone said that this was the best team for a rookie, and it's just like, all of that ends up being irrelevant. Even if you truly believe in your heart that if you had Jaden Daniels or Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, that team would have went undefeated and won a Super Bowl, and Caleb Williams was such a problem and he was so inconsistent of this or that, it still doesn't change the fact that he should improve as a quarterback. You think that Caleb Williams is just 100% a finished product, that he is exactly the quarterback that he will always be, no matter how much the team improves or no matter how much the coaching improves. We think that Caleb Williams already showed his peak as a rookie on a disorganized team with a fired coordinator, fired head coach, bad O-line, etc., etc. That's what we're saying. Again, do you understand how that does not make any logical sense? So you have to concede that Caleb Williams, at a minimum, will improve just a little bit. And that the coaching is going to improve significantly. That has to be more than just a couple extra wins. It just has to be. Especially when so many of your losses were these close, losses as well. It's one thing if they were getting blown out of every single game, then I could maybe understand a little bit more. But so many of the games were, these one-score, weird, bizarre losses that were directly caused by poor coaching. So I don't know, man. I'm still struggling to like wrap my head around it. When I can't figure out the logic of a take, I struggle with it. I like I told you guys this before. Like, I'm such a logical person. Like, I need logic. I need things to make logical sense, even if we reach the wrong conclusion. Like, even if it's a wrong prediction, I'm okay with that. As long as we get there logically. I'm struggling. If you guys can help me out here, if you can help me understand the logic as to why we don't think that this team would take a significant step forward, especially when the Lions, the Packers, and Vikings are taking significant steps backwards. Like, I can't grasp it. I'm struggling to grasp it. So I'm excited to see how this unfolds. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Chicago Bears being predicted to only win 8.5? You know, the over under 8.5 games. So obviously 8 or less or 9 or more. And Colin's even hesitation about the Bears, and you know that there's no surprises here. I guess he really does believe that the Bears are, you know, I guess we'll just not be a playoff team again next, this coming season. But let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.